New C1 drone makes urban mapping easier. Big drones shut down Danish and Norwegian airports. Amazon in new trouble, and an airship drone. This and more drone news in this episode. I'm Johan Erlandsson and this is Future Country. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing and liking. It really helps me to continue to do videos like these. Bobby Healy, the CEO of the leading European drone delivery company, Manna, surprisingly wrote an opinion piece in Swedish news magazine Altinget. Here, he urged politicians to learn more about drone economy and all of its advantages, acknowledge this new technology as a paradigm shift for all of society, and to do more to enable the development. Otherwise, drones will be another field where Sweden and Europe lags behind, exemplifying with current development in AI. However, he did not give any example of what kind of actions he wanted to see from Swedish politicians and authorities. For example, on use space, are we going to use it or not, or about electronic conspicuity? Because from my point of view, it's really the regulation side that's holding the drone industry back. So would have been interesting to hear what he had to say about how can we push this forward when it comes to regulations. I have attended two very rewarding drone conferences lately, Swedish Air Mobility in Stockholm and Emergency Preparedness Week in Røros, Norway. They both included a lot of information and discussion about regulations. Here are my current understanding of how we can start flying beyond visual line of sight from both conferences in a super condensed format. No, U-Space is not a requirement for safe and efficient drone operations beyond visual line of sight in the countryside. It is possible to find good solutions without U-Space. Electronic conspicuity will, however, become a requirement. All airspace users can expect to have to make themselves electronically visible in the future. I mean, all airspace users like general aviation, paragliders, hot air balloons. Maybe birds can get an exemption, but that's about it. Because when everyone is visible, it will be so much easier to fly beyond visual line of sight safely. A good bet on the technology for this will be ADSL, in most cases a combination of mobile network ADSL and 868 MHz radio transmission ADSL. These are fairly low-cost solutions, and if you use both, you will be visible even if you end up outside mobile network coverage. This electronic conspicuity outside of U-spaces will require some sort of UTM system, and it might very well be the same UTM systems that are used in U-spaces by USSPs that are also used outside U-spaces. DJI has released a C1 version of the Mavic 3E with RTK. With a lighter battery, it weighs in at just below 900 grams, RTK unit included. This, I think, is a very welcome development for all city and regional planners in the EU who now can get a very precise mapping done without the need for GCPs. With the regular C2 version, you are not allowed to fly over people in the open category. So mapping a city is not really possible if you don't want to do the hassle of applying for a permit in the specific category. But with the C1 drone, it's possible in the open category. The emergency services in Trøndelag, Norway, are advanced drone operators. This comes from a combination of leadership at the emergency services, the relatively lax regulations in Norway, and a setup where they are aided by a private company to apply for permits. They have done things that we in Sweden say are more or less impossible to get a permit for. The next step for them now is to deploy drone-in-a-box systems and also to see how the giant multicopter DJI Agras T100 can aid emergency services. This drone has a 100 kilo payload. Several big drones from an unknown operator or operators described as capable have shut down operations at 3 Danish and 1 Norwegian airport in the latest couple of weeks. This has triggered a lot of talk about ways to detect the drone and its operator, and also on how to bring the drone down. Bringing a drone down has some challenges. If you shoot it down in urban areas, you introduce risks for citizens. And if I understand it correctly, using radio jamming is only allowed for the police and the military. so the airports cannot act quickly with this effective method themselves. EASA has finally published its adoption of SORA 2.5. Compared to SORA 2.0, this safety assessment methodology now leaves less room for interpretation, requires less evidence, and is relaxing some requirements. In short, SORA 2.5 should make it a little bit easier to apply for permits for drone operations in the specific category. It's almost funny how much problems Amazon has with their drone deliveries. They were very late to start operations after bold statements more than a decade ago. Then they chose to not follow the industry standard by delivering with a line from high altitude, but rather get close to the ground and just drop it, which of course will make neighbors annoyed because of the noise. They have crashed, and now they have crashed again, this time into a crane, indicating a poor collision avoidance system. You have seen multicopter drones, you have seen fixed-wing drones, but have you seen an airship drone? This KELLUU airship is 12 meters long, can carry sensors up to 6 kilos of weight and stay airborne up to 12 hours. With such an impressive autonomy, it should be able to cover big areas. But it also seems to be really slow, so I wonder how big the advantage is in the end when fixed-wing drones can collect data 10 times faster. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.